Today we start with a very important concept of accounting, which actually forms the basis of recording all the transactions. And this concept is dual aspect concept. So dual itself means two aspect in the sense that whenever any transaction is recorded in the books of accounts, it will have two effects. Okay, it will have a minimum of two effects. It will affect two accounts in their opposite sides. If you have a look at the second statement, it says that it affects two accounts in their respective opposite sides. Okay, what does this mean? How we practically move about it? We'll see ahead. So let us first understand the accounting equation for this. Now, this equation here, when the dual aspect concept is presented in the form of an equation, it is known as accounting equation. Now, this is the equality principle that holds true throughout. That is, with every transaction, we need to verify this equation. We need to ensure that with every subsequent transaction that is taking place in the business, this equality holds. Okay. And what is the equality principle? It says the assets of the business are equal to liabilities plus capital. Okay. So yes, Gautam, unmute yourself. Gautam is here.
Yes,
Yes, Gautam, what do we mean by assets?
asset is owned by the company, and
Okay,
we will get the services from that asset.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's a profit. It's a revenue earning.
Revenue, yes, yes, very good. You're generating revenue from an asset.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Gautam. So, what do we mean by assets? They are things of value owned by the business, by the company, and they generate money for the business. Okay, so if I am purchasing a machine, I'm using it for production purposes. That finished good will be sold in the market, and that is generating money for the business. So, assets are things of value owned by the business. Okay, the second term on the now on the right hand side of the equation, we have the next term which is liabilities. Yes, Kartike, you unmute yourself. Kartike is here. Vikas,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, Vikas, what are liabilities?
Ma'am, it's exact of asset. Asset is something from which we generate income, and liabilities is something for which we have to pay something,
Yes,
and
very good.
which is indirectly giving us losses.
Okay, so okay, we'll get into the losses things later, but yes, liabilities, you are absolutely right, are things that the business owes, sorry, to outsiders. Okay, so it is a liability, something which needs to be paid in the future. Okay, then Aman, Aman is here. Now, if you're not answering when I call out your names, then there's no point of giving you attendance for the class. So because you need to be here throughout that 1 hour, which is for your class. Yes, Aryan.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, beta, what is capital?
Ma'am, capital is, ma'am, all the amounts of goods, ma'am, goods and the money, ma'am, by which we are starting our business.
Very good, very good.
Ma'am, whatever we are investing at the start of our venture, that is capital.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, thank you, Aryan. So, capital is whatever money, whatever goods, whatever assets, not assets specifically, but yes, It can be in form of assets also. So money, goods, assets, whatever is brought at the start of the business by the owners is actually a part of the capital of the business. Okay, so this equation says that every time there is a transaction, the left hand side of the equation should be equal to the right hand side of the equation. So assets, total of assets should be equal to the sum total of liabilities and capital. Okay, every transaction will have an impact on minimum of two accounts. Okay, and that will again result in equality of the equations subsequently. So let us start with a very simple example. It is given here, goods purchased for cash. ओके तो पहले समझते हैं कि इसमें दो एस्पेक्ट्स क्या आ रहे हैं. आपने बिजनेस के लिए गुड्स परचेज करे और पेमेंट आपने कैश में करी है. सो द डुअल एस्पेक्ट इन्वॉल्व हियर इज कैश इज गोइंग आउट ऑफ द बिजनेस and goods are coming in the business. Okay, you are giving cash and you are receiving goods. Both cash and goods are actually part of your assets. Okay, both are things of value owned. कैश भी एसेट का पार्ट है और गुड्स भी एसेट का पार्ट है. So in this equation what is happening is cash will go out of the business. Say you are purchasing goods worth 10,000. So 10,000 of cash will go out of the business, but 10,000 of goods will come in the business. So hence the equality is maintained. Net effect क्या आ रहा है? जीरो आ रहा है. तो जो भी टोटल अभी तक लेफ्ट हैंड साइड का था दैट विल tally with the total of the right hand side. Okay, let's move further. The above equation states that assets are always equal to the claims of owners and the outsiders. तो ओनर्स के जो क्लेम होते हैं वो उसको हम बोलते हैं कैपिटल, और जो आउटसाइडर्स के क्लेम होते हैं उसको हम बोलते हैं लाइबिलिटीज. ओके, बोथ आर समथिंग विच द बिजनेस owes, but what it owes to the owners is known as capital, and what the business owes to the outsiders is known as liabilities. Okay, so claims of the business, claims on the business should be equal to the assets of the business. Okay, let us look at some simple examples and then we proceed to a full-fledged question. Accounting equation is very important to understand because whatever we do subsequently in accounts is actually based on this equation. Even balance sheet as a representative of the financial position, representation of the financial position is based on the accounting equation. So very carefully try and understand this concept, pay attention. If there's any question, put it in the chat box. Any doubt, you can unmute yourself and make sure that you are understanding each and every aspect here. Okay, so let us start with the first transaction given here, capital brought in by the owner of the business. Okay, so which means say at the start of the business, the owner is bringing some cash for meeting the expenses of the business. Now, when owner brings in any asset, it is known as capital. So, your capital in the equation is increasing. Our equation is assets are equal to liabilities plus capital. Okay, so the first thing happening here is that the capital is increasing, and this money has been brought in form of cash. So my assets, the business assets are also increasing. So what is the dual effect? There is a addition on the left hand side and there is an addition on the right hand side of the equation. And this addition is happening by the same amount. So the equality of both the sides will be maintained. Moving further, again I am writing the equation again here. So next, okay, the next transaction is purchase of machinery by check. So some problem with the stylus. Okay, so now you are purchasing machinery, but you are not making payment in cash. You are making the payment by check. Okay. So what will be the dual effect of this transaction? When you purchase machinery, a new asset is being added to your business and your check payment will reduce your bank balance. Okay. Both bank balance and machinery are assets for the business. So again, there is a plus and there is a minus. Minus is in form of reduction of bank balance and plus is in form of addition of a new asset to the business. So this plus and minus is taking place on the left hand side of the equation. You are reducing your bank balance and you are adding your machine as an asset to the business. Again, these both plus and minus will be by the same amount and hence the equality of the equation will be maintained. Any doubt, any question till here? Anyone? Okay, so I suppose there is no doubt. We move to the next transaction, goods sold for cash. Okay, now goods are being sold. It means goods are going out of the business. They are being sold for cash. So cash is coming in the business. So again, there's one plus and there's one minus. Here the plus is in form of additional cash and minus is in form of goods which are going out of the business. So in my accounting equation, from the assets, I will reduce the amount of goods. Okay, Suraj, you have a question. Yes, Suraj, unmute yourself.
यस मैम आई हैव वन क्वेश्चन कि मतलब कि जो भी मतलब लैंड हम लोग लेते हैं मैम रेंट पे तो
क्या
मतलब
लेते
उसका जो
हैं
पे
क्या
करना
लेते हैं बेटा?
वो कल आएगा
दोबारा रिपीट करो. दोबारा रिपीट करो अपना क्वेश्चन.
okay suppose we started a business okay and we have a land on rent then the paying the rent is the liabilities or something.
बेटा रेंट यू आर पेइंग इन कैश. ओके, या आप बाय चेक पे कर रहे हो, उस पे डिपेंड करेगा. रेंट की पर से अभी ट्रांजैक्शन आगे भी आएंगी, तो ऐसा करते हैं ना, अभी जो चल रही हैं ट्रांजैक्शंस पहले आप उस पे फोकस करो, फिर आगे आगे ये सब ट्रांजैक्शंस आएंगी, मैं सब समझाऊंगी आपको वहां पे.
नहीं मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ ना मतलब कि जो लैंड का जो रेंट पे करेंगे वो लाइबिलिटीज है हमारा क्या.
लाइबिलिटी नहीं होता, वो एक्सपेंस होता है.
ओके मैम.
ठीक है, और वो कैश आपका माइनस होगा फिर। ओके, और आपकी जो राइट हैंड साइड है इक्वेशन की, वहां पे भी उसका इफेक्ट आएगा, वहां पे भी वो माइनस होगा। वो कैसे होगा वही मैं तभी आपको कह रही हूँ, पहले सिंपल वाली एंट्री समझो, फिर एक लेवल ऊपर चलेंगे। ठीक है, so let's for the time being focus on entry number 3, which is goods sold for cash. So cash moves up in the business and goods are moving out of the business. So my assets are increasing by the amount of cash, but goods which were again part of the assets, they are going out of the business, so they are also reducing by the same amount. Again, the equality of the accounting equation holds. Let's move to the next entry. So again there is rent paid. Okay, now two aspects of this equation are: one, you are paying rent in cash, and second is you are incurring some expenses. So when, Suraj, this will answer your question. When we are paying rent in cash, cash is moving out of the business. Okay, and then on the right hand side, it is not liabilities which are impacted, it is the capital which is impacted. All expenses are reduced from the capital and all incomes are added to the capital. So here you have expense, so your capital will reduce by the same amount, and again at the end of this step the equality holds. Okay, so rent is an expense for the business. Hence, whenever expenses are paid, one thing, in cash, your asset is reducing, your cash balance is reducing, and second, your expenses are reducing the amount of capital also. Okay, so I hope Suraj, जो आपको doubt था वो इससे solve हो गया. Let's just quickly complete. Okay. Let's complete the theory part and then we move to a full-fledged question on accounting equation. So once the two aspects of a transaction are known, it becomes, is there anyone else? Yes, Vansh, you have a question.
Ma'am, can you please explain the last part again?
Last part again, okay. Now rent, when we are paying rent, it is leading to some reduction in cash. Okay, because here in this example we are paying rent in cash. Second thing, rent as a transaction is an expense for the business. Rent is an expense for the business because your uh, expenditure is increasing because of rent being paid. ओके, नाउ कैपिटल में आप सारे एक्सपेंसेस को माइनस करते हो और सारी इनकम्स को ऐड करते हो. अब ये ऐसा क्यों होता है, क्योंकि जो भी, अब मैं यहाँ पर ये एक्सप्लेन, आई डिडंट वांट टू ब्रिंग अप दिस पॉइंट, बट व्हाटएवर एक्सपेंसेस इनकम्स आर बीइंग एडजस्टेड ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, they reflect in the net profit or net loss of the business, which is then adjusted in the capital. तो जब हम आगे अकाउंट्स प्रॉपर प्रिपेयर करेंगे तब आप देखोगे कि जो भी खर्चे करके, जो भी इनकम्स रिसीव करके, अगर हमें प्रॉफिट हो रहा है या हमें लॉस हो रहा है तो वो जाके कैपिटल अकाउंट में एडजस्ट होता है. तो अभी सिंपली आप सिर्फ इतना समझो कि कैपिटल में सारे खर्चे माइनस होते हैं और सारी इनकम्स ऐड होती हैं. तो अब आपके लिए रेंट पेड है तो ये खर्चा है, ये क्या होगा, कैपिटल से माइनस होगा, और ये पे हुआ है कैश में तो ये एसेट से भी माइनस होगा. तो दोनों लेफ्ट हैंड साइड एंड राइट हैंड साइड आर बीइंग reduced by the same amount. The equality of the equation will be maintained. Simran,
So, ma'am,
okay, one by one. Yes,
ma'am,
Vansh, first you
so
complete the question.
cash is a part of both,
No,
even in
cash is a
asset and
part of
capital.
asset. Okay, but this
Okay.
cash is being paid for an expense of the business. दो एस्पेक्ट्स होंगे ना हर ट्रांजैक्शन के,
Yes,
एक
ma'am.
कैश पार्ट है, एक ये खर्चा है बिजनेस के लिए.
Okay.
ठीक है, और खर्चा कहाँ पे एडजस्ट होगा? कैपिटल में एडजस्ट.
Capital में. Okay.
ठीक है.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
next I'll move to Simran's query. Okay, rent is a kind of debt. डेट तब होता है बेटा जब आप इसकी पेमेंट नहीं कर रहे. अभी आप क्या कर रहे हो? आप कैश में पेमेंट कर रहे हो, तो आप कैपिटल से इसको माइनस कर रहे हो. अगर आपका रेंट ड्यू है पर आप पे नहीं कर रहे, तो वो फिर लाइबिलिटीज में आएगा. ठीक है, अभी आप पेमेंट कर रहे हो तो आपके लिए डेट तो नहीं हुआ, आपका कोई खर्चा ड्यू हुआ, आपने वो पे कर दिया, तो वो कैपिटल से एडजस्ट होगा. जब आपका खर्चा ड्यू हुआ और आप पे नहीं कर रहे, तब वो आपके लिए, आपके बिजनेस के लिए एक डेट है, और तब वो लाइबिलिटीज में आएगा, which you will see in the example which I take up after this. Okay, I hope this is clear. Yes, Vikas, you have a question.
Ma'am, what about the services that we get in return for which we are paying the rent?
Rent you are paying for the building. Say for example you are running your business there. Okay, तो से फैक्ट्री आपने रेंट पे ली हुई है, तो फैक्ट्री से बेटा जब इनकम जनरेट होगी तो वो एक अलग ट्रांजैक्शन होगी और उसका अलग इफेक्ट आएगा, वो इसमें नहीं आएगा, इस ट्रांजैक्शन में. बहुत बारी फैक्ट्री में काम नहीं हो रहा, जैसे लॉकडाउन हो गया, फिर भी आप रेंट पे कर रहे हो, तो अभी जब हम रेंट पेड की बात करेंगे तब हम सिर्फ उस इंडिविजुअल ट्रांजैक्शन का इफेक्ट देखेंगे. अब उस रेंट को पे करने की वजह से फैक्ट्री रन हो रही है, जिसकी वजह से सेल्स हो रही हैं, तो वो एक अलग इकोनॉमिक ट्रांजैक्शन हो गई.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Okay, any other question? Okay, so then I'll move ahead. So interpretation of dual aspect concept is that every time there's a transaction, at the end when we tally both left hand side and right hand side, they should be equal. Okay, now what is the significance? Sorry, yes, of this concept? It helps in detecting error, and you see that each entry in opposite sides of two, minimum of two affected accounts. So what we'll do is we'll move to a question which will clarify all your doubts. Now I have, this is one question. I have posted this in parts here so that we solve each and every step very carefully here, and then we'll carry forward the balances of every part. Okay, I hope all of you are sitting with a register. So let us start with the question. I'll solve the question with you, and we'll try and verify the answers at each step. So for that, I will also ask you questions in between. So be very alert. This is the accounting equation. Okay, and at every step, we will verify the equality. Okay, let us start with the first transaction. First transaction says, okay, now Amar started business with cash 40,000, bank 60,000, this is the bank balance, goods 20,000, furniture 80,000. अब जब आप बिजनेस स्टार्ट करते हो, ओनर जो इनिशियल जो भी कैश जो भी एसेट लाता है वो कैपिटल होता है. ठीक है, कैपिटल कैन बी ब्रॉट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ कैश एंड other assets. So what I do is, under the assets, I will write down the breakup. Cash is an asset, bank is an asset, and your goods are also assets. Okay, and furniture. अभी तक हमारे बिजनेस में 4 assets हैं. Now I come to the first equation. What I do is I add 40,000 in cash. Bank is 60,000. गुड्स आए हैं आपके 20,000 के. एंड देन फर्नीचर इज 80,000. ओके, आप पूरा स्ट्रेट इक्वेशन लिख लेना. यू विल बी हैविंग मोर स्पेस, so it will be more convenient for you people to write this down. Okay, then there is no liability at the start. We do not own anything to anyone, but this total asset is actually the capital for the business. Okay, so the total here is coming to 2 lakh rupees. So in the capital account I add 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so this is the dual aspect, dual effect of the first transaction. After every transaction, we will tally the left hand side and the right hand side. So now you can see 2 lakh on the left hand side is equal to 2 lakh on the right hand side. Okay, so first transaction, first entry is verifying the accounting equation. So Suraj, I believe you have a question.
Ma'am, but the bank from bank, the
Your
liabilities
voice
now.
is not clear. Yes, you will have to repeat your question. दोबारा बोलो बेटा.
Whatever the loan we have taken from the bank is the liabilities now.
Yes. So this is not a loan. This is a bank balance which is being brought in.
Oh, sorry, ma'am.
ठीक है? Okay. Any other question from this entry? Let's move to the second entry. When you are writing the accounting equation, then you always give narration या क्या एंट्री है. तो एसेट्स वाली साइड से पहले लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे आप ट्रांजैक्शन एज इट इज भी लिखते हो एक बारी. दैट हेयर से परचेज्ड goods for cash. Okay, so you write the narration for the entry and then you move here, you give the narration part, this column, first column, and then you move to the accounting equation. Okay, so let's move to the second entry, purchased goods for cash. Okay, now this means that cash is going out of the business and goods are coming in the business. So what I do, I reduce the cash by 10,000 rupees. There's no effect on the bank balance. My goods will increase by 10,000 and there is no effect on the furniture. This is what is happening on the left hand side. No impact on the right hand side. So that remains the same. 0 plus 0. After this, you again tally the left hand side with the right hand side. Your cash will now be 30,000. Bank balance 60,000. Goods will be 30,000. And furniture will remain same at 80,000. This is liabilities are 0 and capital is still at 2 lakh. So very clearly can you see that the left hand side total is still equal to the right hand side total. So this is the dual effect of transaction number 2. Okay, so we'll move to the next transaction. So what I'll do is that I'll display 2 pages at one time, so that will help us carry forward the balances. So the third equation now you can see here is purchased goods on credit from Akbar rupees 15,000. तो आप पहले नरेशन लिख लो. Purchased goods on credit. Okay, so this is purchase of goods by the business. So, and then again this is on credit. So this increases the liability of the business, because now the business owes rupees 15,000 to Akbar. Okay, so how do we treat this entry? कैश पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है, जीरो इम्पैक्ट. बैंक पे जीरो इम्पैक्ट है क्योंकि आपने कोई पेमेंट अभी गुड्स के लिए नहीं करी, बट योर गुड्स आर कमिंग इन द बिजनेस एंड this means your goods are increasing by an amount of 15,000 and there is no impact on the furniture. So here again I'll write a 0. This is the first effect of this transaction. Now, under the liabilities, our first liability has come into picture, which is the creditors. Okay, now my creditors are increasing by 15,000. Okay, तो लाइबिलिटीज के अंडर फर्स्ट लाइबिलिटी जो आई है वो है क्रेडिटर्स एंड द क्रेडिटर्स आर इंक्रीजिंग बाय 15,000. देयर इज नो इम्पैक्ट ऑन द कैपिटल. So now I write down the breakup again. 30,000 cash, 60,000 bank balance, goods increase to 45,000 and furniture is still at 80,000. Liabilities 15,000. Capital 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so total of both the sides we check again is coming to 2,15,000. So after your fourth entry, again, sorry, the third entry, the accounting equation is being verified. So this means you have made the entry correctly. Any question you can ask, else we'll proceed to the fourth transaction. So this is clear, I believe, to everyone. Okay, now the fourth transaction, what is it saying? Sold goods for cash. तो पहला इम्पैक्ट क्या है कि कैश बेसिस पे आपने गुड्स सेल करे हैं तो आपके बिजनेस में कैश आ रहा है. So cash amount in the business cash balance will increase. But then please pay attention here. 8,000 के गुड्स थे जो आपने 10,000 में सेल कर दिए. कैश बिजनेस में आ रहा है और कैश कितना आ रहा है? आई एम राइटिंग इट है 10,000 का कैश आ रहा है. गुड्स कितने के थे? गुड्स आपके 8,000 के थे. तो बिजनेस से गुड्स कितनी अमाउंट के बाहर जा रहे हैं? गुड्स गोइंग आउट ऑफ द बिजनेस आर वर्थ ₹8,000. इस ट्रांजैक्शन की वजह से बिजनेस को प्रॉफिट हुआ है. ओके, एंड दिस प्रॉफिट इज ऑफ ₹2,000. So which means profit added to the business is 2,000. Okay, again profits and losses are adjusted in the capital account. Incomes, expenses, profits, losses are adjusted in the capital account. So when I make the adjustment, I've just explained you the entry here. What does this entry mean? Now let us see what is the impact of this entry. Your cash is increasing by 10,000. बैंक बैलेंस पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है. गुड्स बिजनेस से बाहर जा रहे हैं. कितनी अमाउंट के गुड्स बाहर जा रहे हैं? 8,000 के. फर्नीचर पे कुछ भी इम्पैक्ट नहीं है. राइट हैंड साइड पे चलते हैं. लाइबिलिटीज पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है, पर आपका प्रॉफिट इंक्रीज हो रहा है बाय 2,000. इसका मतलब आपका कैपिटल इंक्रीज हो रहा है बाय 2,000. दिस इज द इफेक्ट. Okay, so you see that basically 3 accounts are being impacted by this entry. So minimum of 2 accounts, and then there can be more accounts which are impacted. So again, after this entry, I see the balance. 40,000 is balance of cash, 60,000 bank balance. अब आपके गुड्स कितनी अमाउंट के हो गए? 45,000 minus 8,000. So this becomes 37,000. Furniture remains the same at 80,000. Okay, liabilities are 15,000, and now your capital is increasing to 2,02,000. So we check the total of both the sides. Is it verifying, class? 120, 180 and 217. Yes, 2,17,000 is the total of both the sides. So let us halt here. First, pay attention, especially the non-commerce students who are doing this for the first